Wait, why do we care? Defining poverty and measuring the needs of the whole person. Defining and measuring poverty in America. Imagine a person living in poverty. What do they look like? What are they wearing? What does their house look like? Do they even have a house? Where might they live? New York? Or Mississippi? In an urban environment? Or in the country? Can you really tell if a person is living in poverty? How would you know? Poverty affects all types of people, regardless of location, race, and various other external factors. Plenty of people have proposed their own ideas regarding how to define poverty. Some say it's an economic deprivation issue. Those experiencing poverty lack the basic funds needed to survive. Others believe it has to do with a lack of capabilities. What are capabilities? Capabilities are anything and everything that a person can do or be. They range from an ability to survive to the ability to stay healthy and happy in one's environment. To be more specific, central capabilities are the capabilities that philosopher Martha Nussbaum believes are integral to ensuring that the dignity of a person is respected. Thus, if a person is lacking in one or more of these areas, some think they are experiencing poverty. Finally, some, like Dorothy Allison, believe poverty has to do with social exclusion. To them, not being fully integrated into one society defines those experiencing poverty and keeps them from a quality life. Obviously, there are a lot of different ways of defining poverty. Is it based solely on one's economic status? Are you experiencing poverty if you are unable to receive a high standard of education due to a lack of good public schools in the neighborhood, even when you have a lot of money? Can you experience poverty and have a positive impact on society at the same time? These are complex questions, but we're going to break it down for you. We think that the definition of poverty is the combination of a lack of the economic means and central capabilities necessary to be a productive and accepted member of one's society. Part 1. Poverty is a lack of sufficient economic means. Most people think that poverty always boils down to a lack of money. To many, poverty is addressed by giving certain groups of people more or less money. Well, this is not completely false. We think that poverty actually does have a whole lot to do with money. According to prominent sociologist John Iceland, poverty refers to economic or income deprivation. Essentially, poverty boils down to a lack of the 4 basic needs: food, clothing, shelter, and utilities. If a household does not have the funds to meet these 4 basic needs, then they are living in poverty. For example, say Sally doesn't have enough money to buy food for her 3 children. These kids need food to have energy and focus throughout their school day. What does Sally need? Some would say money in the form of welfare programs such as SNAP. In this situation, we think that money can help Sally. Prior to Sally receiving SNAP, Iceland would see her as experiencing poverty because she could not afford food, a basic human need. Now that she has money to buy food, she can meet that basic human need. But is money all that Sally needs to have a quality standard of living? Sally doesn't have a car to get her kids to school. Her daughter has to walk down dimly lit, dangerous streets at 7 a.m. to get her education. Sally loves her daughter and wants her to be safe, but she also wants her to get a good education. This is called a tragic choice, 2 things that Sally should not have to choose between. What can Sally do? Can money fix this? Well, kind of. Money can and will be used to build a street lamp so that Sally's daughter can safely walk to school. However, putting dollars directly into Sally's pockets wouldn't do anything to solve this problem. Sally doesn't have the time or resources to build a street lamp, and she doesn't have a car or the time before work to get her daughter to school safely. So yes, money matters because money gives us access to resources, and without those resources, we might not be able to function. However, we think that poverty is not just an economic deficit problem, as seen by Sally's example. If addressing poverty means putting dollars into Sally's pockets, then we are significantly limiting our ability to think of the solutions that she needs. We need to know what the money is for. You find that out by looking at capabilities. Part 2. Poverty is also a capabilities deficit. Once again, philosopher Martha Nussbaum, as well as economist and philosopher Amartya Sen, say that capabilities are the answers to the question of, what is this person able to do or be? Again, central capabilities are the capabilities that Nussbaum defines as being imperative to respect the dignity of all human beings. There are 10. First, life. 2. Bodily health. 3. Bodily integrity. 4. Senses, imagination, and thought. 5. Emotions. 6. Practical reason. 7. Affiliation. 8. Other species. 9. Play. And 10. Control over one's environment. There are internal capabilities, which are our personal trained and developed traits based on our experiences in society, like a dad who teaches his child environmental philosophy. Then there are basic capabilities, which are innate characteristics of a person. And then combined capabilities, which are the combination of internal capabilities and one's external environment. So why are capabilities even important to poverty? Because people matter. Poverty is more than just money. Nussbaum and Sen's capabilities approach expands on the economic deficit theory. By including capabilities, we add another layer to poverty by humanizing it. We can better see the actual causes and consequences of poverty other than just food, clothing, shelter, and utilities. Take Bob and Jim. They have the same job, and they make the same amount of money. However, Bob has a serious heart condition. More than half of his income goes towards paying his medical bills. While Bob is paying expensive medical bills, Jim is able to allocate more of his funds toward resources like good food, a nice house, and a good education for his son. Bob does not have the bodily health capability to allocate his money toward those resources. Jim's bodily health capabilities are not lacking, so he can spend his money elsewhere, while Bob cannot. So, having a lack of capabilities has many detrimental consequences that can lead to and emerge from poverty. As a result, the two facets of our definition go hand in hand. Money impacts one's capabilities, and one's capabilities impact one's money. Wait, we've given you our definition of poverty, but there's something missing. How do we measure it? Currently, the United States measures poverty using the Official Poverty Measurement, or the OPM. The OPM addresses poverty as an issue of income inadequacy, aka not having enough money to meet the 4 basic needs of food, clothing, shelter, and utilities. The OPM is the U.S. Census Bureau's official standard. The OPM looks at resources and threshold. In resources, it takes a household's income before taxes, and for threshold, it looks at FCSU, food, clothing, shelter, and utilities, using a needs basket that is adjusted based on household size. It takes the lowest cost food plan prepared by the USDA and multiplies that by 3, depending on family size, in order to cover other needs such as utilities and clothing. This comes out to roughly $12,000 per person and $25,000 for a family of 4. We think that there are pros and cons to the OPM measurement, and we want to use part of it for our measurement. It has a standard measure which is good and takes income before taxes and before welfare programs, as well as disregards non-discretionary spending in order to get a better perception of people's raw economic state. However, it does not take into account capabilities, which is the biggest thing, and it needs several updates, which we will get to when we propose our measurement. Then there's the Supplemental Poverty Measure, or the SPM. The SPM also looks at poverty as an issue of income inadequacy, but expands on the OPM. It takes into account differences in family size and modernizes the OPM. However, it is still not sufficient because it does not take into account capabilities. We like the OPM as a baseline, but it doesn't work perfectly in the 21st century. We need to expand on it. We want to measure using the OPM and the new OPM plus capabilities. We will adjust the OPM so that it meets the current standards of living for each year. It will also be adjusted based on the cost of living in each geographical location. We propose that they have a different OPM for each region in the U.S., broken up into its rural and urban counterparts. Finally, it will just be generally updated to fit new standards of living. The OPM will also include a capabilities measurement. We want to know how people are really doing. We will look directly at each of Nussbaum's central capabilities using measurements like education rates, death rates, life expectancy rates, and other measurements of capabilities. We think that defining poverty as an economic means deficit as well as a capabilities deficit better takes into account how individual people are actually functioning in the United States. Remember, people matter, and by measuring poverty this way, we take into account the needs of all people.